All right, I think we are live. I'm just gonna check my YouTube so that we're sure that we're live appropriately. Okay. Oh yeah, we are. Okay, we have. If you can hear us, please just let us know. You can drop a chat. You can drop a comment for us. Please, we just want to be sure we are live. I can see 13 people. If you can hear us clearly, welcome to today's talk about A to Z pathways to accessing Canada. Oh, thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to pull it online as well so that other people can remember that we've started. It's a pleasure to have my brother, Dr. Akingbade, here today, and we'll be doing justice to quite a whole lot of things that has to do with relocating to Canada as well as also studying in Canada. So we'll just start in another 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Ibitola. Tomi Emeka Tolulope Ifeyemi. Tolulope is actually from our master class. So it's like people like house in house. So thank you for joining us today. I have the honor and the pleasure of having Dr. Akin Kumi Akingbade here. Dr. Akin Kumi Akingbade is the principal consultant of A3 Immigration Worldwide. It's an honor
Ah,
to have you here today. And I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself so that before we start, you can introduce yourself and let the people know who you are.
Thank you, Dr. Olumuyiwa Igbalajobi. When you said worldwide in my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, I think that worldwide is okay. Or I can say A3 sons, A3 and sons and daughters worldwide. It's a pleasure connecting with you, sir, this morning, and for everyone who is live with us online. And for those who would yet see this video, my name is Akinkunmi Akinbade, principal consultant for A3 Immigration. A3 Immigration became licensed here in Canada a little above 3 years ago now, and we've been helping individuals who are looking to come into Canada to make it either a temporary stay for them or they want to move in permanently. And that is what we have been able to do the last 3 years from within Canada, and a couple of other years experience in student recruitment, working for some colleges and universities across Canada, the US, Europe, and some other parts of the world as well. So it's a pleasure joining you this morning, sir.
Thank you so much. The last time I was on your platform and you promised we're gonna have it together, and I'm happy that we made this possible today. Dr. Akin Kumi Akinbari is a licensed immigration consultant in Canada, and he helps different pathways to come to Canada. So he's quite familiar, and that is why I brought him on board today. So if you are interested in coming to Canada and you want a licensed immigration consultant to represent you, please we'll drop his details in the chat during the course of this conversation. So thank you for coming once again. And so we're gonna just kickstart today because we really have limited time, especially with all the commitments and also it's 12 noon Calgary time. So I will start with the first question. Like a lot of people are quite not sure about the immigration pathways coming to Canada, and I get these questions every day. Or a prospective student, or I want to relocate with my family to Canada. What are possible pathways to which people can relocate to Canada? If you can just give us a kind of a general overview, and then we can address it during the course of the conversation. And again, if you have questions, please. Use the chat box, introduce yourself, and also tell us where you're from. And if you have questions, use the chat comments to drop your question. Over to you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lumuyiwa. For the when it comes to Canada, it's a broad spectrum, looking at what are the types of visas or what are the pathways through which an individual can come. Um, Let me start with the basic that is common uh, to most people. Number one, you could either come in on a visitor's visa, that is temporarily. You want to come visit families, friends, yes. That's a pathway through which you can come in on a temporary basis, through tourism as well. Tourism, a lot of individuals ask, so what's the difference between tourism and visits? Visit is you have an individual in here who is inviting you, either a friend, either a family. Why tourist is you don't even know anyone. You don't even know anyone here, but you just want to come in and say, let me even have a feel of what Canada feels like. Oh, they say it's always very cold during winter, and here we are this morning, heavy downpour everywhere, raining. You know,
Yeah, I know.
some individuals want to come experience what it looks like, and that's it. You're coming here on a tourist to see for yourself what Canada looks like. That's also an option. And you could also look at the possibility of coming in here to work. Now, the work permit in itself, that's what we call the work permit. There are one or two other options that comes to mind when we talk about the work permit. Some of them are not open to Nigeria. So if your audience covers outside of Nigeria, then there are some where you come in and say, okay, you know what, based on the fact that I want to come gather experience, and then you come in here, you get a visa, just like the J1 visa in the US. The same, there are options of that here in Canada as well. For the work permits, there are also different types of work permits. There is a closed work permit. The closed work permit is when you have an individual or organization who is looking to bring you in to work for them. Yes, that's a closed work permit. You can only work for such individual or for such organization. So work permit is an option through which you can come in. It's also a pathway for individuals to come into Canada temporarily. And yes, there is the commonest. I know I just want to move to Canada through the PR. Even the PR in itself, the permanent resident route, there are lots of options as well that comes with that. You could either come in if you qualify under the federal skilled worker option.
Mm.
You could look at if you're already inside on the temporarily, you could qualify under the Canadian experience class. If you are outside, you have a family in some provinces that allows for it. You could be moving into Canada through the provincial nomination option. You have a family, you have a job offer from the province. Yeah, that is also an option for you to come in permanently. It's broad. Some individuals
Yeah.
say, you know what, I've spoken to it, ghost consultants or agents, like they are popularly called. They say, oh, all I need to do is just come in. Yeah, there is
Mm.
also the option of just come and study, just take a program. Whatever it is that you come into them for, they only tell you, just come and study, just get admissions and come study. So that's not going to leave out the student route, which is also an
Right.
option for you to come into Canada. At this point, you are coming into Canada not just to have a feel of Canada, but also to learn what Canada looks like through the study option. So you're coming in here to study either in a college or a university, or you want to take short programs, vocational studies. Yeah, you could come in through that as well. As once your program is going to be longer than 6 months, you
Mm.
would be required to apply for a study permit. But if you have a
Right.
temporary a visitor's visa or a tourist visa, and you're looking to come into Canada um, to take a program that is less than 6 months, then you don't require a study permit. So
Absolutely.
I've mentioned the option of you coming in to visit. I've mentioned the option of you coming in to work. I've mentioned the option of you coming in to study, and I've also mentioned the option of you coming in to live in Canada permanently. Which, of
Permanently
course,
resident.
I want to believe there are other questions along it.
Of course, we definitely. So yeah. So
Let's go
I
ahead.
just want to. Yeah. So I just want to talk more. Like in addition, you mentioned work permits, and there was a question that came on spot, which is more about people saying, oh, it is easy to get a work permit in Canada, and there's some agents in back. Maybe we have someone from Zambia, which is quite peculiar to Nigeria and any other African country. Even in other countries like India, will promise you like they're going to get you the work permit, and once you come to Canada, you get a lifetime, experience in terms of they even pick you at the airport. They provide you with your accommodation. They provide you with a job, and they even provide you with passport and all everything, and flight back to your home country. So how easy is it to get like a work permit in Canada if you are not actually residing in Canada?
Well, to be honest, it depends on. I think that's one of the latest scam in town now. Recently, I read on one of the government platform where an individual was told by an agent, "Don't worry, just come in. Once you come in, there are jobs on the street of Canada."
Canada.
And then the individual was coming with a visitor's visa, first month, second month, third month, fourth month, and then there is nothing is showing up. They have expended all their life savings trying to get
Mm,
accommodation. Unlike where they live, where they pay yearly, you now have to come to terms or reality that you have to pay every week, every
right.
month rather. Now have to pay your accommodation for every month, otherwise you're on the streets, homeless.
Mm,
Getting a job, I wouldn't say it is easy. Um, Recently, we had a role that was advertised. I want to give this instance. And within 2 weeks, we had received over 3,000 resumes.
wow.
Within 2 weeks, 45% from inside Canada, another 55% from outside of Canada. 2 weeks. I've not said 2 months, just 2 weeks. We have received over 3,000 resumes. And I do not think that it is easier getting a job when you are outside of Canada. However, if you have skills, based on skills, that talks about the trade option also coming into Canada. If you have skills that are not relatively available, or that Canadians or permanent residents or protected refugees are not looking to work in those spaces, yes, you could possibly be getting. I've seen individuals who I recommend go online, go and sit on Job Bank, mention some other government approved sites to apply for jobs, and 1 out of every 100 gets it. I'm not talking of seasonal. If you are talking about seasonal jobs, like those in the space of construction or those in the field of agriculture, yes, maybe it's easier for them. But if you
Mm,
want to come in as a professional, quote and off quote, people in trades also are professional. If you want to come in on a professional angle, then it is not that easy getting a job. Am I
definitely.
saying people don't get job from outside Canada? No, that's not what I'm saying. But if you have 1 million applications,
Sure.
I can tell you for free that the rate of unemployment in Canada is a bit higher than it used to be 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like I had. I've been here for 5 years. So I can tell you that getting a job inside of Canada, when you are inside Canada, is better positioned than for someone who's outside. Because your employer have to consider so many things bringing you in, except you have that exceptional skill. No employer is going to have to pay for your flight, pay for whatever support you need, apply for an LMI for you to be able to come in. No employer is just going to go through all of those phases without being sure that you are exceptional.
Mm,
I recently had an application for a mechanic that came in from South Africa, right? The employer went out of his way to ensure, booked the flights, did the LMI application to ensure that the individual is here, right? So, uh, like I mentioned, if you're exceptionally good, your services are needed, the employer will go out of his or her way to ensure you are here. Or getting a job as an admin person, or you are getting a job as an operations manager, or you are getting a job in any of those, you have to be exceptionally good.
Thank you so much, Doc, for that. Yeah, we've had cases that we've also shared together that most of those roles, most of those job offers are fake, and so you have to be very careful that you don't fall to scammers. And basically, it's quite important that you verify those documents properly. And when they promise you everything for you to just give them money, they'll do everything for you. You have to be very, very careful. And that takes us to the next question, which Tommy asked. Can you explain the work permit and LMI? And somebody also said, can our guest be more audible as well? So they want our guest to increase as well. So Tommy is asking if, like, can you explain the work permit and the LMIA?
Yeah, so usually, I hope, can they hear me better now?
I think that should be better.
Well, maybe it's because of the cold afternoon.
Yes. Go ahead,
Okay,
I can
so
hear you.
for the work experience, when we talk about the work permit in itself, now the way a job offer is the same way an LMIA is. Now, how do we match the two together? If you are coming from outside of Canada, you do not have a status in Canada, then you require an LMIA, except, of course, the job is LMIA exempt. I don't want to confuse the audience. Now, a work permit, when you say, oh, I need a job offer, I need a job offer, an LMIA is regarded also as a job offer in the context that you require a status in Canada to be able to apply. If you already have a work permit, then all you need is a job offer. You don't need an LMIA, except you were currently on an LMIA and you need to transition to another organization. I hope that's clear. So the
Yeah.
LMIA is Labor Market Impact Assessment. It is a proof. It is always issued by Service Canada, ESDC. And what that does is the employer is saying, I have looked inside of Canada. I do not have anyone who is qualified to do this job. Or I have gotten individuals who are willing to do the job, but I don't think the required experience is there. So the employer then makes the application for an LMI on your behalf. So it simply means they have checked that this job offer is not going to have an impact on the lives of Canadian citizens, permanent residents, protected refugees, that this LMI is not going to have an impact on their current state of job. That's what an LMI is, and that's what the job function is. And that's why when you go on Job Bank today, you see a minimum of 1 million adverts there,
Yeah.
because it is a standard for you to minimum advertise this job on 3 minimum platforms, known platforms. I'm going to only be mentioning the Job Bank because that's the regulated one here. There are lots of other options which you are always familiar with in terms of sites where you can look out for jobs. Indeed, LinkedIn's, Kijiji, and the rest, and so many others. Now, so the employer has to go through the rigorous stress of one, advertising the job on a minimum of 3 renowned um, advertising links, to be sure, must have gone through the phase of shortlisting the resumes, conducted interviews, and then at the end of the day, offer you an employment contract. That's what the LMI is simply all about. I have done my due diligence, I've done everything, then I am offering you the job. That's what the LMI is. And the LMI is often a closed work permit. So it simply means if I'm issuing you an LMI as an employer, you are only able to work for me for
Mhm.
the period of the contract, usually 2 years.
Yeah.
So you are not able to work for another employer, except, of course, two organizations comes together and say, we are both hiring this individual. Then you can work for both of us. Outside of that, you cannot. Now, your spouses would have an open work permit if they are married, It simply means your spouses can work for any employer at any point in time. That's the open work permit. Now, if you belong to the class of researchers, you are a researcher, you're a professor, you are a minister, and some other A-class artist, then you qualify for that LMIA exempt. LMIA exempt simply means they are not going to go through the advertising period, and then I can issue you a letter of employment. I don't need to apply to Service Canada. I only need to inform the government that I'm hiring this person because this individual is good. Take, for instance, University of Calgary says, oh, we need this individual. This guy is exceptionally good as a research assistant or postdoctoral fellow. They can hire you on that LMIA exempt regulation. They don't have to apply to Service Canada to get an LMIA. Then you come on an LMIA exempt, and your spouses also can get their open work permit, and the kids, depending on whatever, can get their study permit. So that's what it is. LMIA is job offer for an individual who is coming from outside of Canada that do require the LMIA. And except for those in those categories that I've mentioned, every other person will require an LMIA.
Thank you so much for that. It's quite detailed, and I was going to talk about my experience because coming to Canada, I came as a postdoc, and so I had an LMIA exempt, which
Exempt.
even at that, I can still work for any other platform or company. So there are a specific set of people in Canada, like postdoc research associates, that their professors might actually show the government that these people are exceptionally talented, and they do not actually prevent other Canadians or people with PR from getting jobs. So that is why it's quite complex that whenever somebody is promising you a job in Canada, the question you should ask the agent is this job that exceptional that they do not find anyone in Canada to do the job? Because it's a lot of process that they have to make an
Go through.
advertisement, and so many companies don't want to go through that because you have people in the system. Even recently, so many professors don't want to go and pay for the LMI exempt as well, especially when they have someone in Canada that they can easily
transition
transit
into.
to.
Yeah.
So it's much more important for you to do your due diligence so that you don't lose your hard-earned money for that. If you're just joining us, welcome to today's episode, A to Z of the Canadian Immigration Pathway with Dr. Kumi Akingbade, the principal consultant of A3 Immigration Canada and worldwide. Let's go to the next question, Doc. I mean, we just mentioned about maybe Canadians, if they do not have some specific skill set that could allow companies to bring in people. And there was a question in the chat already asking that what are the top skills that Canadians do not have interest in?
With the population of individuals who have come into Canada the last 5 years, I'm not sure that you won't find a Canadian or a permanent resident or a protected refugee. That's
Right.
someone who has sought asylum, and the government has said, well, your claims are valid. We are granting you that protection, pending when their PRs will come. I don't think so. Rather, I would say opportunities exist when there are more of trades. In the course of the answering of that earlier question, I made mention of some of them. Individuals who are in construction. Canada would always need construction workers, people in the field of hospitality. And that's why when you hear that new policies come out, there would always be some exceptions. And if you look at the latest one that came, you will hear, oh, this exception is for those in construction. We are giving exception to those in construction. We are giving exception to those in hospitality. We are giving exception to those in health.
Tourism. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are fields you may want to look into. And if you are handy, you are able to do stuffs, talented, then there are also opportunities for you. But do not get me wrong. I am also aware Even some individuals also come to us and say, hey, we need LMI. And as an immigration consultant, it is also going to be a conflict of interest to be an hiring manager. So in most of these cases, we refer them to recruiters who perhaps have employers who need genuine employees. You know what you want to prove by going all through this stress is the genuineness of that, and yeah, they're able to provide that for them. So jobs, it doesn't matter what kind of job it is you are in. People in tech, there was a time even Alberta was just looking out for tech.
Right.
They were trying to move away from the oil and gas that they are known for, and then they want to start a new project and say, you know what, we want to focus on IT. And they came up and said we needed ITs. IT companies can recruit from anywhere, and yeah, that was also rolled out. Recently now, Saskatchewan just said, oh, for those in the field of agriculture and
Okay.
just coming. So when you say what jobs are Canadians not interested to, it is relative. Canadians are interested in all class. However, if you think you have what it takes, then you should probably be able to, and most importantly, learn how to do something with your hand. That's going to be my strong
Definitely.
recommendation.
Thank you so much, Doc. There are a few questions, but I think we're just going to move and then we'll come back to that. We're going to move to students, which we are both in the same, cycle, and I think we would both comment on that. So, for people in the chat or people that will be watching this video maybe in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years time, um, critical steps, for international students applying for Canadian universities or institutions? What are the things they should be mindful of? I think recently the Minister of Immigration made mention of saying not every student that comes to Canada would transit to having the citizenship. So, what are the realistic, concerns do you think international students should look for, especially when considering to study in Canada? Especially when we know that if you're coming for self-funding, it's not cheap as well.
Awesome. So when I'm trying to ensure that I get this question right and that I'm able to answer it accordingly. Now, first thing is you need to identify what course do you want to come study. I've seen individuals who have done masters and then they say, oh, I spoke with my agent. My agent said I should go and do a diploma. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and it is not as if you are trying something new. Am I saying you having a master's, you can't come to do a diploma? No, that's not what I say. You can't have a master's, you can't have an MBA, and then you are coming back to say you want to do a diploma in business administration. There's nothing you want to cover at diploma level
Has to be covered
that you have
for.
not covered at the master's level. Especially you have a first degree in business administration, and then you went on to do an MBA, and now you say you want to come back for a diploma. No, in business administration, no, it's not going to work. Chances of you getting the study permit is very low. But you say, oh, I've been in the field of MBA and my focus in MBA has always been marketing. Now I want to come for international finance, or now I want to come for something, even though it's a lower degree, but it's totally going to be enable you to use the knowledge that you already have at an higher level. So first is know the course you want to study, whether at college level, whether at university level. Be sure of the course you want to. What is the career progression for you?
Mm.
If they ask you to write a personal statement or a statement of purpose, are you able to write and say this is what I want, and you're not paying somebody to help you to write, or you are not paying AI? AI go say, you give command to AI and say, AI, write why a pharmacy student should be studying business administration.
Right.
You already know that, okay, taking a business course for as a pharmacist or as a medical doctor would help you in your profession. Everything is about business.
Mm.
Are you even if you are a pastor and you say, oh, I have a ministry, I want to come study business administration? Yes, it will help you to effectively manage. That's what it is. Know the course you want to study, know how it relates to you, how does it transition. what's a career pathway for you there, and having understand the cost. Now, because I've seen a lot of individuals who come in after one semester to even pay the main tuition. It's
Becomes
always
difficult.
stubborn. Yeah, because they feel, don't worry, once I come into Canada, even Canada will take. I will work 24 hours. I will work 48 hours in one day, You need to be sure of counting the cost. If this program is going to be $18,000, for instance, am I able to cover the tuition for the first year? Even if it's a 2 years program, I need to be able to demonstrate that I'm able to cover the cost of 1 year. And now you're not even going to be able to work for 40 hours off session. You're only going to be able to work 24 hours flat. And so that means it has also reduced how many hours you're able to work legally. And if you choose to do it over time, it's not now you will know. It is when you want to apply for your PR. That's when you know that Canada takes cognizance of all of this information in order for you to. So one, know the cost, know how it relates to you, the cost of the program itself, and then what's your plan on financing? Do I want to take a student loan? Do I want to get a sponsor? Am I going to be self-sponsoring myself? Who is sponsoring me? It's part of the questions that need to be answered even before you embark on that. And that's one of the things why we talk about during the initial consultation session. We don't want you getting started, all of a sudden you get stuck and say, the money I told you I was expecting. No, you don't plan on other people's money to come into Canada to study. That's it. And then, having mentioned that, do I meet the requirement of the course? There are some individuals who make 20 applications and then they end up not even getting one. And there are individuals who make just one application and they get it. Check the requirements to be sure that you meet them. There are some that would say, even though Nigeria is an English speaking country or Ghana is an English speaking country, there are some programs you want to take, they still tell you will require the test of language. I am aware that Dr. Lumiwa has been doing a lot of job writing schools to waive English as a requirement. There are some schools who say, yes, thank you for writing us, we will waive it. And some say, no, you just have to write it. So you have to be sure you meet the requirements. They're asking you for your transcript. Are you able to access it? Especially in some parts of the world, Africa, most of it fall within this group where you are not even able to access your transcript several years after you have left. You need to be sure that you're able to get it. Yeah, those are the basic requirements. And I've seen individuals who say, oh, I'm believing, especially if they are strong Christians, I'm believing God for it. And you don't have an international passport and you say you want to come and study. So that's
Yeah.
also, that's where to get started from. Have an international passport. And then, yes, if you are looking for scholarship, scholarship cafe is there to help you. I don't focus on that because it takes a lot of work. You have to write a lot. And then now everyone depends on, they say, oh, why am I paying you $30? Why am I paying you $50? I thought you were going to write it for me. Write what for you? I'm not in your
Talk
thoughts.
so.
I'm not in your thoughts. There's no way I'm able to put it together. If you write something, I can help you clean it up, see how it relates. But writing for you, nah. So you
Thank you
might
so
want to be
much.
sure you are looking for scholarship. Yes, what are the procedures? You can visit their YouTube. A lot of work has been done on how to get sending code emails. I've seen a lot of
Definitely.
testimonials there too, where people say, "Oh, thank you for sharing your template. Code email is working." It's okay. Go ahead and write lots of code emails you are
And
looking for
it's actually
for
cold
that.
in Calgary today as well. Okay, so thank you so much for that, Doc. And I'm just gonna, talk more about scholarships, especially if you're looking at a pathway to come to Canada. And like Doc said, it's important for you to be strategic in terms of you choosing the course as well. Someone is asking if Nigerians are qualified for student loan, and Doc's gonna give example and perspective, and I'm gonna add mine. If you're looking for scholarships, there are a few scholarships in Canada. The home of scholarship is basically the US. I'm gonna say that any moment, anytime. In the US, you can get up to $600,000 worth of scholarship. In Canada, they are quite very, limited. They are quite very frugal when it comes to funds. Recently, there was one of my students that wrote me on Twitter and said, Doc, I don't understand this document from the professor. This person gave me $26,000, and the person said, I need to take care of logistics and tuition myself. What does it mean? I said, it is clear. It shows that tuition is not covered in the 26,000 given to you. Logistic is not covered in the 26,000 given to you. It shows that you need to provide additional proof of fund when you are applying for your visa. So even at that, if you are looking for scholarship in Canada, for instance, the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship Program at UBC is ongoing, and this covers everything you can think about. You don't even need a proof of fund, your flight ticket, your clothing allowance, your laptop, your application fee, even if you want to process your passport. It covers, your warm clothing allowance. Studying at UBC is quite expensive. They cover that entirely. And you can also look out for the MasterCard Foundation program at McGill. It opens on the 23rd of September. So for the one in UBC, if you've read agriculture, economics, or chemistry, or microbiology, you can go through forestry. So they have a lot of programs that you can look into. And if you want to apply for the one at McGill, you can also check it out. We have the Vanier scholarship is like $50,000 per annum for PhD student. You might have to be in Canada before you apply, and you need a professor for that. So there are scholarships in Canada that you don't need a professor. MasterCard, McCall scholarship. The first person that won that from Nigeria is from Scholarships Cafe, and up to now, no one has ever won it again. And also, we have the Aero Scholarship at the University of Guelph. That if you're in the field of agri-food, you can get up to $50,000 for masters and PhD program. If you're looking to relocate to Canada as a postdoc, the way I did, there are also opportunities for postdocs, Banting Fellowship, $70,000 a year. And fortunately, Canada recently increased the stipend for grad student and postdoc in 20 years. So, which means that for $45,000 that you're getting as a postdoc before, you might have the opportunity to get more than that. But when you're applying to Canada as a student, as one, for some of those institutions, you need a minimum of 2-1 if you want to apply for masters. PhD and masters, if it's research based, you need a professor acceptance. Some of the institutions will indicate it on their website that do not apply unless you get a professor acceptance. If you do not get a professor acceptance and you apply for this admission, you are paying your $150 and it's gone. Some of them will give you automated rejection because you haven't secured a supervisor. So if you're new on this platform, you're just joining us, it's important to understand how it works in Canada, not just you applying and say you want to test the waters. If you have the application fee and you have the faith, you can test the waters, yeah, but it's not cheap. And also, you have to be very conscious of the university. And some universities in Canada, they don't even recognize some particular universities in some countries. I don't want to mention those countries, which means that if you're just applying and you don't have a supervisor and you're just applying that way, you might get, your application, rejected, and your application fee is gone in the process. For the proficiency, almost every institution in Canada waived the English test from English-speaking African country, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Liberia, Zimbabwe. They are all covered in the English-speaking exempt countries. And if you think, I think a couple of days ago, I received a message on Twitter, X, from two of my followers saying UBC does not waive the test for Nigerians. And I was like, that's not true, because I work at UBC and I know that they waive the test for applicants from Nigeria. So it's important for you also to be intentional in the process if you really want to get scholarships in Canada. For the student loan, basically, we're not here to talk about, oh, this is a platform for you to go for student loan. But I've seen cases that 80% of people that actually apply for student loan get their visa rejected. And I'm going to throw it to Dr. Akinbade as well. And the part of being an immigration consultant, how can people actually ensure that when they take student loan, they get their visa approved?
Yeah, the truth about it is there is nothing saying the funds has to come from you. In fact, if you take a student loan, it might be a proof that you come back.
Yes.
One of the most how do I say it now, prominent in India is community funding. The entire community comes together and say, you know what, we want to send Mr. X to Canada to study. So it's not out of place for you to take a student loan, but you need to be able to explain one why you needed that to take that student loan to come into Canada. What does the student loan even cover? Is there a cover letter from your from the individual or the institution that is borrowing you the loan? Are they stating what that loan would cover? What's their pedigree? What do they have documents to show that indeed they will not bail out when it's time for you to pay your tuition and the rest? So it's not out of place for you to take a student loan to come into Canada.
So thank you so much for that, Doc. Yeah, it's very important to show how you're going to pay back. As and I also realized recently we had a partnership with an organization which I'm not, it's not a paid sponsor to mention their name. One of the criteria that they give is even the ROI on the course itself. Like not all the courses are actually eligible for student loan because they understand how it works in the Canadian system. If you cannot show the visa officer that this course is quite important, like you're applying for project management, like maybe back in the days project management were quite important, but these days it's you don't even need to go to college to become a project manager. You can pick these skills as a grad student or even when you're in the university. So that is why, still going back to our former conversation, you need to ensure that the course that you're coming to do in Canada is quite reputable, and these are in-demand courses, which is quite important. Joe Benson said, please, I'm in the medical field. Which site can you recommend for me for LMI jobs?
So now the one that is recognized, I've left the link on the chat as well. For the recognized one is the Canadian Job Bank. That's Canadian Job Bank. Once you see it there, then because right now there are a lot of also other individuals who are coming in to say, oh, we have jobs available, just send it here, check it here, you visit their site, harvest your information, and then they start selling to you. I've seen individuals who have had to pay and ended up buying fake. So if you find it on any other site and it's not on Job Bank, especially for those who are coming from outside of Canada, please. If you can't find it on Canadian Job Bank, then it's a sign you might want to watch out for, because it is important to advertise that job on that site. I hope that
Thank you
answers the
so.
question.
Yeah, I think that really answers the question. So we're just gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next question, and the next questions would be like, what are the common cause of rejections for student visa in Canada?
Yeah, for those who have experienced it, in fact, if they are able to talk to you, if they're able to talk to us on this call, they'll tell you, you have not been able to demonstrate that you're coming back to Canada. You leave Canada at the end of your studies. Proof of fund,
Yeah, right.
due to financial, those are the basic ones that comes into as basic refusals. And I've seen cases where I'm going to just mention a few verified because it happened to us. Now, there was an individual who came in and said, "Oh, my study permit was refused." I said, "Was refused? Why?" Blah 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 blah. I said, "Okay." I look. What documents did you submit? He said, "No, I can't remember who the." And it was somebody that helped me to submit documents. I said, even if somebody helps you to submit your document, the law is it is as good as you are the ones who have done that. You shouldn't be able to submit documents without having access to. Should be the one providing the documents, not anyone providing documents for you. Now, having said that, we discovered that you said you are working in XYZ, and then you added a pay stubs that was ABC. It doesn't even add up. There's no you don't need anybody to tell you anything. Now, Canada wants you to prove beyond reasonable doubt that what you say you are doing is what you are doing. Where you say you are working is where you are working. Even if you don't have that experience, it's not out of place for you to say gathering experiences. You have a 5 years gap. You were done with your first degree since maybe 2020. I just want to give an instance, maybe since 2015. and in your resume from 2015 to 2021, maybe Nigeria happened to you and you didn't get a job, you're not going to just leave it blank. And you don't have to lie. Okay, I was gathering, I was on a job search, I was doing this. You need to be able to explain what has happened within that 6 years or 7 years. And then, because at the end of the day, the officer who is reviewing your documents wants to see every of these details. Now, as of today, there are other individuals who work in places where they are not paid directly into their account. The money comes from a particular person. I don't know if you have seen that before, Doc, where somebody says, I'm working with company A. And then you say, do you receive salary from company A account? You say, no, they pay me in cash. Or no, they transfer the money from, the director transfers money from his personal account. And then you want to take us, you want us to believe that? Not in this world. So even if your director transfers funds to you as your salary from his personal account, you should be able to write why that has happened. Or we have issues with our company account. Get something valid for it. And an uncle is sponsoring you. All of a sudden, your account that used to be an average of 2,000 naira monthly, all of a sudden you wanted to apply for visa, and then the account rose from 2,000 monthly, now rose to 40 million. It's
Right.
already a lump sum, and you are not explaining that. Then it becomes an issue. Somebody says, "Oh, you know what? I'm using my uncle. My uncle says he's going to sponsor me," and your uncle is not able to transfer your living expenses into your personal account, and that's not also going to fly. All of that are several factors that we have seen when it comes to finance. At that, I've seen somebody who was refused because the company ID card was not attached to an application. So many things. You say, "Oh, I work in this place, it doesn't matter." Things that Nigerians and some other African countries don't count. You mean an ID card? It doesn't matter. Or you mean this? It doesn't matter. So you need to be able to put all of that together in your application. If it's a DIY, you want to do it yourself, there's nothing out of place. There's no rule that says you have to use a consultant to get your study permit. And in most of the cases, we even recommend for individuals, you can do it yourself. You don't have to pay us because it's not free. Even in Freetown, things are not free. You can do it yourself. And then if you need a second eye to look at it, then we can charge you for just the second eye, but not to help you with the application as well. Basic reasons for refusals. Somebody wants to study. I've seen cases where somebody fills a form and fills forms wrongly. It is that bad. You say you are coming into a college of agriculture. I'm just giving an instance. College of Agriculture, and you are coming here to take a fishery course. And then you're filling your form. They ask you, where are you coming to? You say, I'm coming to take forestry, or not fisheries anymore. I've seen a lot of this happening in errors. I've seen people who fill their name wrongly. I've seen
Wow.
people who fill their date of birth wrongly. Once there's an error on your form, you are sure
You're
it's an
rejected.
automatic, because right now it is we have left the era of manpower. We are now in the era of AI. Once the AI picks it and says, "Oh, I suspect this," I've seen somebody who was refused, and all the context was around finance. So I got disturbed. I'm like, no, this individual has funds in the account. What could be wrong? And then we requested for the officer's note and saw that the officer had reasons to doubt the document. And what was the reason? The company used a particular type of font in writing the employment letter. The letter headed was sharp, but when it was time to get a reference letter, the reference letter was not sharp. The letterhead it appeared as if it was copied. It was a photocopy of the photocopy. And that's why the individual was refused. So you have to be sure of the quality of the documentations. And by the word doc quality, it doesn't mean just, it could include being sharp. Have you seen some individuals who send you data pages of their passport data page, and you wonder,
Glory.
I'm not sure this person went to school. They take a picture of it, and then you see yourself slanting. You have to
Yeah,
bend your head to
exactly.
see. Nah, so it's part of the things you need to consider. You are not there to defend it. People will say in the US, within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, the officer has taken a decision.
Right.
Yes, It's all about psychology. Now you have the opportunity to present your documents. You are not even presenting the right documents, or you are not presenting the documents good enough. So these are part of the things that could lead to a refusal. And of course, the place of discretion of the issuing officer, that place of discretion, AI cannot take that. The place of discretion is the officer feels, after, even though you have attached all of these things, I don't think you are coming back. He doesn't think that's the way. He doesn't think, he doesn't think. There's nothing.
It's
What is the
nothing
way
you can
forward?
do.
You can do a reconsideration, you can do a reapplication, you can decide to even take the government to court and say, you know what, I think this is out of place. I think I stand a chance. Yes, those are the ways you can also go about refusals if you have them.
Thank you so much for that, Doc. We have a question from Evans. Evans is saying, thank you, Evans. Evans from Nigeria. Can I study a master's or diploma in data analysis with a first degree in accounting?
Yes, if you see how does the individual currently work in that space, are they looking to change careers? Yes.
Okay, so Evans, answer those questions yourself if you're working in the space. I think one takeaway out of this conversation, especially applying for student routes, is to be able to show there is a career progression. I've seen there was a case of someone that I knew, which happens to be part of our coaching program at Scholarships Cafe, and the person had a master's in psychology, and this person was applying for a diploma again, an ordinary diploma in tourism, and then they rejected the visa twice. And when the person came to me, I was like, there's no way you can get past that part because it doesn't show career progression. Another person had a PhD and the person was applying for a diploma. The agent was saying, oh no, I'm going to do it, it's going to work. And I told the person it's not going to work because these are just basic concept that you should understand, like any visa officer, even yourself. If you should look into that
You're
document,
into
you
your
realize
application
that
yourself. Would
it
you
doesn't
issue
match.
yourself visa?
Exactly. So if you switch the role, would you actually issue yourself? This is what I tell my students as well. When you're applying for scholarships, if you look at your CV, if you look at your statement of purpose, if you look at your documents, would you actually give yourself scholarships? So when you're writing your applications, either for study visa, even if for scholarships, you need to be intentional, in the way that you put everything to ensure that you do a good job. There's a question from Simon. I'm a civil engineering graduate. Can I get entry level LMI jobs?
Yes. When you say entry level, there's nothing entry level, there's nothing hard level. There are some individuals, of course, individuals in civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. You cannot practice in that as a specialist until when you're about to go through, receive your red seal, go through their trainings, recertifications before you are able to practice. However, yes, you can work in the field of construction, either as a supervisor. Somebody says, you know what, I need someone to be able to help me supervise a project, a construction worker. Yes, you can. Even if you are not a civil engineer, you can work in any of those. All you need is it's called labor. All you need is manpower. You have energy to work. And this
Right.
kind of work are not the ones that you work 10 minutes to take a break of 5 minutes. These are you will know you have worked.
You will feel it.
You will know that you have worked indeed. So yes, you can. You can get construction work. You can, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Doc. So
And
there's
and
been.
just sorry, doctor, and
Go
just so
ahead,
to put
please.
it, if you have worked in exceptional cases where you have perhaps handled a project that is that makes some sense, then you can probably also be able to present that, and that can improve on the quality of what you can get.
Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so much for that, Doc. Okay, Chuku, please can you discuss a bit on scholarship and job availability for education accounting? I'm currently working as an accountant.
Job availability. It's just like every other availability. It's just like every other job.
Right.
Yeah, in Canada, for you to practice as an accountant, you need to become a CPA. However, you can do some basic work of accounting, work in an accounting firm, be an accounting clerk. You can do bookkeeping, you can do the basic accounting work. But for you to be recognized as an accountant here, then you need the CPA. So I hope that's clear. You can work as an accountant or an accounting clerk, not as an accountant. Or you can do the work of an accountant, but you're not regarded as an accountant until you have done a CPA. But you can work in accounting firm, help with tax preparation, help with the basic knowledge that you need, do bookkeeping, whatever else is related. You can even work for an employer who is a CPA, and then you work for the individual to be able to get the work done while he supervises your job. Yeah, you can.
Hey, thank you so much for that, Doc. And there's a question: how can one migrate to Canada as a religious worker?
Is the person a wonder?
And
His name
Dr.
was
Kimbade is also a pastor anyway. So how can someone migrate to Canada as a pastor?
Have you proven your call? Is your call proven?
Goodness God.
That's the first question you need to that needs to be asked. Yes, my call is proven. So
Is God sending me to Canada or what?
no, proven the call that by the word proven the call, I mean that have you been doing it? Have you done it on the streets of your country? Are you called to be an evangelist? Are you a pastor? Which of the class are you? If yes, do you have proofs? Because you can't just say you wake up tomorrow and then you come to say, oh, you know what, I'm a religious worker, I'm a pastor. When they say you're a religious worker, we're only using the word religious worker. It doesn't mean somebody who is you have to be a minister. That's what it means. At what level are you with this? If you are able to prove it, you have a church or you are working for a church, then yes, all you need to do is if your church has a branch here, they can issue an employment letter. If they don't, then you can go online as well, check for individuals or churches, religious organizations who are looking to hire pastors. I remember when I first came in here, for the first, I didn't get a job, and then I got a job. A church was saying they are looking for a youth pastor. I said, youth pastor, that's my call. Oh. Youth ministry is my ministry. Oh. And they were going to pay, I think, $65,000 or so.
Oh wow, as a
Yeah,
pastor.
so they pay
Mm.
pastors well. So in case you are religious, just be sure that your call is confirmed, and then you can try to see if you get an employer. Yeah, that's it. It's simple and straightforward. And when they ask you for requirements to meet certificate, are you on? That's why I said, have you proven your call? You must have a certificate of ordination. You must have some other documents. Have you not committed crime before? They're gonna do background check on that. Those are the things. Yeah, it's basic and pretty straightforward to doing that.
Thank you so much.
But you need an
Dan,
employer. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
that's the long and short of it.
Daniel actually confirmed that he has practiced and is
Ah.
currently a pastor at Fire Tabernacle Ministry
Oh,
in
what I said was on
Freetown.
a lighter note. I know.
Of
Don't
course,
worry.
we do. We're just joking.
Before you tell me to come for deliverance, I'm okay.
There's a question from Abimbola Christiana. As a lecturer in Nigeria, are there a possibility of getting jobs in Canada? I have a PhD in religious studies.
Okay, so as a lecturer, are you looking to come in? I have a PhD in religious studies. Okay, so you're a lecturer. What are you looking to? What kind of jobs are you looking to do? Is it there are some religious um, colleges, universities here. You may want to apply to them. Yes, the same way you have a PhD, you can also apply for a postdoctoral program in religious work. I am sure of one. I know there are one or two here in Calgary, in Alberta here, that are basically just religious organizations. So if you want to apply for a postdoc, you can be able to. You can be able to. And then if you also want to either lecture or you have a call, then it could be either of both too. So you're able to get an employer based on whichever field you want or you want to concentrate on. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that, Doc. I'm just going to contribute to that. As a lecturer, you can't get a direct lecturing from Nigeria to here. It takes true process. I've also seen cases where I had one of my persons, like very close to me, was a lecturer in Nigeria, and then he applied for a faculty position in Canada. They were advertising, and he got a professorial position, but you need to prove yourself, like the change your CV formats to the Canadian format of CV. For postdoc, you probably need to reach out to institutions, professors working in those
Professors.
areas.
Uh-huh.
And fortunately, I mentored one of my students that got to the US this year, and he got a PhD. I think it was a master's position, full ride master's. In something related to perception of religious, and it was paid flight ticket, it was paid tuition, a stipend was covered as well. So you have to really define your research interest in the area of
Mm-hmm.
religions, acceptability, different perception. So if you need additional support, you can always reach out to Scholarships Cafe and book a consultation for that. Can I get your email? You said you wrote me, so I'm not really sure the website you used, but my email is info@olumuyiwaigbalajobi.com. So you can shoot me an email if you need support. We're almost at the end, and I'm just going to create indulgence of Dr. Akimbadi if you could spare us 10 minutes more. So I want to ask about the caregiver pathway, which is like this has been bastardized in the last couple of weeks. A lot of adverts about caregiver. When you come to Canada, you get a PR on arrival, you get everything. So, what is your view about the caregiver pathway, and how true is this?
Yes, an announcement was made by the immigration minister a couple of months ago, and since then, I've been surprised at the kind of level of adverts I've seen. Get your PR without IELTS in 10 minutes. So currently, that pilot program is going to be getting started in January. Yes, the announcement was made. If you have what has changed from the other pilot program that ended recently and this new one is, before now you require an experience in Canada, but now foreign experience would count, minimum of 6 months of experience. And so if you have experience working as a caregiver in Nigeria or in Sierra Leone or in Ghana, depending on wherever our audience right now are from, yes, you can be able to come in uh, to become through the caregiver program. However, you need to demonstrate that you can speak English, you can hear with a band score, minimum band score, either CELP or IELTS or whatever. You need to demonstrate that. You also need an employer here in Canada for you to qualify. So that brings us back to where we're coming from: employer, employer, employer. And please, let's be a bit careful, especially for individuals who are taking advantage of people. At this moment, the who can issue the employment has not been clearly stated by the government, by the minister. So yes, you'll be able to come in to Canada if you have a 6 months work experience prior. You can come in on arrival, you get a PR. Before now, recently, the program duration usually takes an average of 2 to 3 years. Some takes 5 years to process. I had somebody who began the application process to come in through the caregiver route, the old one, when we came in 2019, and the individual just got a work permit, got approval for a PR, subject to 6 months of work experience in Canada. And so that took about 5 years. But the minister has said that this is going to take a short period. So until when further information come out, no one has a clear understanding of this. But what has been established is, with a foreign experience, you're able to get a PR. You need to have evaluated your results. So either WES, any of the ECAs, any of the credential assessment organizations, you're able to use them. WES, ICES, whatever. What's the name of the one we have here in Alberta, so that it doesn't appear I'm not talking about Alberta here? I IQAS. IQAS. Yes, if you have any of those, you are able to. And the truth about it is that the old caregiver program ended, I think, in June or July. I'm not sure. I think it should be either June or July. Now, when that ended, this new one was introduced. This new one, from what has been said by the minister, has a better prospect, shorter processing time. Foreign workers can apply and get it. The slot is going to be open for a particular amount of people, either 15,000 people expected. Yeah, so January is when it is opening. If I were you, it's something you are interested in. I get my IELTS ready or my CELPIP. I get it ready. I get my assessed documents, credentials ready, ECA. I get them ready. If I have experience working in the field, every other training that I've received within that period, I get them ready. You know, the unfortunate thing that I think is going to happen, Doc, is that most people who are going to start learning or who are going to start going to caregiver schools, because I see a lot of them right now, become a caregiver in 6 days. Become an expert in caregiving in 2 weeks.
Wow.
All manner of courses out there now. The certificates they are going to give to you is going to read after June. So you need to be careful of you claiming to have a work experience that you do not have. This program is going to have 2 options. First option is those with experience can apply for a PR with an employer. Those who do not have experience have the opportunity to come in on a work permit. 6 months after, 1 year after, you can then also apply for your PR. Don't go and take a certification program in August and then you are saying that you have a 6 months experience from January. It's not going to add up because certifications do not show that you have that 6 months. That's just a hint for somebody who has not paid me.
Oh, thank you so much for that. There's a question saying that, I mean, just to follow up to what you just said, I think Tijani had applied for the one that ended in June. So he's saying, what is the prospect for someone that submitted application for the caregiver and the one that ended in June?
There is hope. They are going to treat every application that has come in. So if you have applied in June, just relax. With the one that ended in June, just relax. I had somebody who had applied since 2018. They just told the person, I'm still working. We are still working on it. We are still working on it. We are still working on it. Government has not thrown it out. They are still working on it. And until the last set of application is being treated, they are not going to roll out. So you've got nothing to worry about regarding those who have applied for the old one. I can tell you, it's still coming in. In 2019, when I came in, somebody who had applied since 2018 came to me and said, sir, I don't think this is working. This person came in to me in 2022. That's about 4 years after, right? Yes. And the person said, I don't think this is working. How can I do it? I need to retain your service. And I said, okay, no problem. I can help you follow up on your application. I placed a call through to the department. They say, we are working on it. The person should relax. Since 2022, the person just got, that was August last month, the individual just got an approval. Oh, your PR, your permanent resident has been approved under the caregiver program. However, you need a 6 months of in Canada experience. So we are going to issue you a work permit. This person is going to be in Canada very soon. I think this month to begin. And then once the 6 months is completed, the person will get a PR. So that is still open. That is still open. I can tell you that for free.
Thank you so much, Doc. So if you have other questions that is related to immigration, Okechukwu, my wife studied radiography, practicing IELTS. How can we maximize the caregiver route? I want to tell you, please reach out to Dr. Akingbade. I just dropped a link for A3 immigration. Anything that has to do with migration to Canada in terms of, IELTS or required or not. IELTS in 6 days or 7 days.
IELTS is required for when I hear become a permanent resident without IELTS. My mind will like, where are we going? It appears that someday they'll just say, Someday they will just come and tell us that enter Canada through your sleep.
So anything that has to do with immigration, study visa, work visa, you can book an hour, 45 minutes consultation with Dr. Akimbade, and he will provide you with a good retainer. We've worked together, and everybody that will actually refer to Hey3 at come back to positive news, and Corey, fortunately, one of my cousins just got a visa approved after he had been rejected, and I had to refer her to Dr. Akimbadi, and she just arrived in Canada as well. So I can always vouch for him. Anything that has to do with scholarship or self-study is opportunities in Canada as well. You can always reach out to us at Scholarships Cafe. Dr. Akimbadi also work with some institutions, especially if you are looking for self-funding routes. So on the last note, we've been here for over an hour, and it's still a very early in Calgary today, and we all have other things to do. So what would you consider as some of the factors that people need to look into, especially choosing a particular province in Canada? Maybe like you're coming to Vancouver, you're coming to Calgary, you're going to Nova Scotia. For people that want to migrate to Canada, what would you consider some of the factors that they need to really put in place in terms of the choice of the province, in terms of, we've talked about the choice of the job, maybe even weather itself, maybe the cost of living. So what would be your comment on that?
For me, I think basically one of the things I would ask every individual coming into Canada to check with is outside of the type of job you're looking, what's your career prospect? Now you're looking for an oil and gas company, you used to work in the oil and gas, you are looking to continue working in that space. You check for provinces that are oil and gas region. Don't carry your load and say you are going to Nova Scotia, or you are going to when you are not going there, or you are going to the Atlantic region where they don't have oil. If you are a farmer, yes, you may want to consider provinces like Alberta, Saskatchewan,
Scotland, yeah.
and some other places. PEI, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia. That's when you know that you can even fish without entering water, right? So those are the kind of areas that should place a priority where you are coming. But if you are just not, if somebody is in the administrative sector, you are in the operations sector, yes, then any of the provinces would need any of that. But if if your career is a bit, somebody is saying, "Oh, I work with MPA," or I'm an ocean person, I'm this," then you don't. There's nothing. Calgary does not have one. There's no water here, so it's not gonna be able to. And then yeah, so outside of that, where do you have family somewhere? Because that family support when you first come in is key. It's always very, very key, so that someday you don't wake up and say, I'm going through a lot, and then everybody will tell you, everybody here is going through a lot too.
Exactly.
Don't use your own a lot to confuse my own a lot. So if
Yeah,
you have
thank you.
family, you may want to consider where you have a family support, just for that cultural change, the shock. And when you come in, it could be an influencing factor in what province you wanna come into. Most importantly, so.
Thank you so much for that. There's a last question from someone asking, I should provide insight into the law enforcement pathway in Abada. He currently works as a law enforcement officer in Nigeria with more than 5 years experience. I would say that if you are a law enforcement officer, I'm hearing the law enforcement pathway for the first time. So Dr. Kingbade can always provide insight into that if you want to reach out to him through
I
personalized
think,
consultation.
Doctor, sorry, Doc, I think what the individual is not saying that there is a law enforcement pathway. The individual is only saying him or as a law enforcement person, what pathway can I? That's what I want to believe that is.
I hope
Usually,
so because I was like, I want to ask about the law enforcement pathway in Abada.
these days you hear all kinds of pathways. So in
Okay.
case it is law enforcement pathway, I'm happy to tell you there's no law enforcement pathway.
Okay, okay, okay,
But
okay.
if you are a law enforcement person, you want to come into Canada, you have 5 years of work experience. Yes, you may want to look at companies that does the same and are looking to hire you for your service. Like for instance, I had somebody who got a job. Are you a French speaker? Do you is your country in the yes? You can even come into to Canada through the French route, right? So it might be some of the things. If you think you want to talk to us for better clarity or understanding, and doctor has shared what his consultation link is not free. Doesn't do free. It's not free. Um, for me, if you want to set up that as well, it's not free. So you don't say I beg you. Don't beg me. That's I always like to leave that note that when you now say, okay, thank you, you are so open, you are so blunt. Yes, that's how I am always. We want to tell you for a truth that this can either work or it may not work. So don't end up spending your hard-earned money thinking it's gonna pull through and it doesn't. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Doc. Tijani Joseph, you just asked if you can apply for another master's. You have a background in environmental chemistry and you are looking for master's in environmental toxicology or pharmaceutical science. Please reach out to us at Scholarships Cafe. Anything that has to do with sciences or chemistry, especially chemistry, is more like, really well funded. And recently I had one of my students that arrived in the US with 4 fully funded PhD offers in chemistry, and she just finished her undergraduate. So if you want support, please ensure that you check the link, the chat for link on how to book consultation with us, and we have our scholarship masterclass coming up in October. You can check our website. You can check the chat as well. We've supported more than 300 students in the last 3 months for our masterclass, and we just completed one yesterday with 84 students. And we're looking forward to getting you on board, getting you into our forum, and we're working really hard to ensure that you all get opportunities and you're prepped for the next fall application cycle. And being part of our community also gives you added advantage to get access to real-time scholarship opportunities. And if you need support, especially for immigration advice, we also have Dr. Akingbade that we can always refer to you to. And so please ensure you make use of these opportunities very well. They are asking of please send the doctor's immigration handle. I'm going to share the Twitter handle with you. If you want to connect with A3 on Twitter, please go ahead and connect with A3 on Twitter. Canadian Job Bank, you can also search that on Google as well. It will bring you the job bank. In fact, I saw some scholarships on the job bank recently, and I was like, what? I didn't even know there are scholarships here. Master's, PhD, postdoc opportunity.
Every offer must be advertised. So that remains the most viable. If you want to confirm the genuinity of a job, I've had individuals who say, oh, we paid a huge sum of money, $40,000, $35,000, and they don't get jobs, they don't get things. Once it's not on job bank, forget it.
Oh wow. Okay. Thank you so much for coming today and your final words to our amazing audience as well.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you for having me this afternoon. It's been a pleasure to be here. I know we had lots of questions, over 400 questions we want to answer, but time will not permit us to.
Yeah, I know.
I think I would have to join you in master class too, master class on how to come to Canada in 7 days.
7 days. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Or you want to sleep and wake up in Canada, that would be better.
These days you see all kind of master class. You are doing an amazing job, Doc. Thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you so much.
More power to your elbow. Thank you so much, sir, for having me. It's a pleasure to
Thank
always
you.
connect with you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akinbade. He's an amazing person. And I remember the first time he actually reached out to me on LinkedIn and he said, you're doing so much. I'm going to offer you 2 slots for free, immigration support, study support, which is worth over 2,500 Canadian dollars. And since then, we've actually matched and I've referred a whole lot of people to him and he has supported them. Even the worst of cases that I never thought could actually go through the immigration pathway. We were just lucky to like get it through, and it's not just someone that would you pick on the street. It's someone that went through the college and is licensed, is certified, he knows his onions. And for everybody that joined us today, thank you so much. I saw some of my students from my masterclass joining. Michael, Princess, I really appreciate Favor, my EA. Thank you for joining as well. And if you want our support in any capacity, get through all the videos we have here. We have over 74 videos for you to check on how to apply for scholarships. And then if you think you need an accountability platform, then you can always book a consultation with us. Join our masterclass. The last masterclass we had was 6 good hours for 3 days. We treated 170 slides. And you should understand that even what we offer, it's quite, what we give you out there is even more than what you pay for. And the fact that we have an inclusive community, we don't compete with one another. We want to achieve, we want to grow with one another. And this year alone, we've supported over 100 students that got into the US, Sweden, Finland, different countries, South Korea, and we want to be part of your success story. So till we see you the next time, maybe next month, keep applying for those opportunities. Ensure you don't fall victim of fraud. Please ensure you validate every information you see out there. And we wish you all the best. Bye for now.